Well, it's Thursday night. That means I just got back from the bar. It's a tradition. I go to the team bar in San Francisco for one of the two teams that is playing that night. If the 49ers aren't playing, if the 49ers are playing, then I'll be at the stadium. But team bar tradition night today, I was at the Packers bar. We'll take a quick look. But first, we'll talk about the topic of today's show. It's going to be the preview of Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense against the Cardinals defense on Sunday. But I think everybody likes to see some food. Oh, we're at the Green Bay bar. Cheese curds. This is the Wisconsin food, a direct descendant of Czech fried cheese, but Packers fans did not go home happy. They did make some noise, though. This is after Jordan Love's touchdown run. I think you'll notice, though, that even in the Green Bay bar, the 49ers have their presence dictated. 49ers Super Bowl championship banner, all five Super Bowl championships commemorated on one. So this was local tap. Maybe I should make this capitalized because that is the proper spelling. It's over, I think it used to be Zeke's. It's over by the ballpark, over by Oracle Park. Obviously, they have some Niners memorabilia, but it is the Green Bay Packers bar. And I think we can put the cheese curds on one more time. Look at those things. So, those of you who follow some of my European travels over in Prague know that I love me some Czech fried cheese. And there were a lot of Czech immigrants to the U.S., and they brought the fried cheese over to the U.S. They settled in Wisconsin and those Midwest areas. The fried cheese in the Czech Republic, though, it's going to be bigger. It's like hamburger patty size, so it's better than a cheese curd. This is a little bit dumbed down. But Packers fans love it. Wisconsin people love it. Fried cheese curds, they dip it in whatever that is, marinara sauce. I got an order. I shared it with a couple people because I did not want to eat that many cheese curds. And I enjoyed the vibe at the Green Bay Packers bar today. But the Lions got them. The Detroit Lions took over this game early. I think it was 24-3. And then the Green Bay Packers had a chance to get back in the football game, but there was that unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which took everybody in the bar by surprise. They went to commercial. Everybody thought the Lions had kicked the field goal. Come back from commercial, and all of a sudden the Lions have the points off the board, and they're further with a first down into Green Bay territory. That effectively ended the game, 34-20 to final. But, we saw this trend coming at the end of last season. The Detroit Lions beat the Packers in that Week 18 game at Lambeau Field to keep Green Bay out of the playoffs. And we said, if the Lions can start playing some defense, they had a good offense already last season. And lo and behold, the Lions have been playing a little bit of defense. First against Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City a couple Thursday nights ago. Today, they seem to be pressuring Jordan Love a lot. Love had a last gasp comeback attempt there, kind of like he made last week against Atlanta at home. But today, it wasn't enough. The Lions were able to snuff it out, and they win 34-20. So there you have it. 49ers looking at maybe another challenger in the NFC in the Detroit Lions. Not saying they're on the 49ers level. That's a B-list challenger, though. The Packers were once the B-list challengers in the NFC. And maybe they'll figure things out under Jordan Love. Maybe, last week was a big fourth quarter game for them when they came back against Atlanta. But when you look at teams that can give the 49ers a little bit of a fight on any given Sunday, I think you need a little bit more than what the Packers have shown so far. And to me, the Lions are intriguing. They have lost in overtime to the Seattle Seahawks at home. But between the Week 1 win at Kansas City and this, which was domination for a while in Green Bay, we got to look out for them in the NFC. Anyway, check it out. That is the Packers bar. What's the next Thursday night game? I haven't even looked. I know the 49ers next week play the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. So maybe I'll get to go somewhere cool on Thursday night. In fact, I could look right now. Should be available to me. Week 5, Thursday. Bears and Commanders. Oh, boy. That's rough. It's really rough. That being said, I'll probably go up to the marina and I'll check out Monahan's. That's the Bears bar. There's a lot of passionate Chicago people up there. I don't know how full it's going to be, but it'll be a good opportunity to go up and see the bar in the marina, where I actually saw the Cubs win the World Series back when they played Cleveland. So that'll be the bar next week on Thursday. The week after that, Broncos and Chiefs. Well, I mean, the way Denver's playing right now, Mike McGlinchey was out there taking all the shots today from the media. He was telling everybody to calm down, but it must be tough for Mike to say that when the Broncos are 0-3 and they just gave up 70 points. The problem with Denver is these guys have a roster that I think is suffering some attrition because Russell Wilson took so many resources to trade for and to pay. And it's going to take a while for Denver to turn this around. And I'm not really sure if Russell Wilson is on the correct timeline for what the Broncos are going to need. They need to try to sneak in better efficiency from him now. I don't know if it's going to get better. He's only getting older. Anyway, seems to be a bit of a mess in Denver, but Broncos Chiefs, that's on October 12th. I digress. I go back to Brock Purdy against the Cardinals defense. Arizona defensively has been mediocre this year. Number 17 or number 18. I will say that they have a really weak 3-4 defensive line. So it's going to be 3-4 alignment. They're going to be bringing 2 outside linebackers on the pass rush from the edge. The 3 down linemen for the Arizona Cardinals are going to struggle against the 49ers. I think Jonathan Ledbetter, one of the defensive ends in the 3-4, is one of the worst defensive ends in the league. If you look at his metrics, I was showing some of those graphs the other day. You want to be further to the right, further up, or at least further up. Well, he's down at the very bottom as far as productivity goes in pass rushing situations. They also, I mean, we'll see who plays that nose tackle spot. If it's Kevin Strong or if it's Lecky Fotu. I know they're doing some moving around with Arizona. Either way, I don't think they have enough speed from their defensive linemen to truly challenge a 49ers team that I think is going to be running off tackle, trying to hit the perimeter, right? We know the 49ers have that outside zone capability. We know they have a lot of team speed. Arizona has struggled against the run so far this season. The Cowboys, in fact, in the loss last week, rushed for 185 yards and over 5 yards a pop. And we know that the 49ers can run the football. I think, what's tremendously promising for the 49ers is that Christian McCaffrey was awesome for this team last year, but I don't think that he was hitting holes with the same efficiency as he's hitting this season. And he's had an entire offseason now to sit down and just soak in the playbook. Watch tape from last year. See what he might have missed on some of these runs. And to me, Christian McCaffrey is hitting holes with much more efficiency this season. And the stats don't lie. He leads the league in rushing yards over expectation. He leads the league in rushing yards, period. Through 3 games, Christian is averaging 118 rushing yards per game. The rushing yards over expectation is on pace to shatter the NFL record. I mean, he was really good last year, but he's on pace for a historic 2023 season. And if the Cowboys rushed for that many against the Cardinals, you can't tell me that the 49ers are somehow going to struggle against Arizona. In general, the Cardinals' strength is up the middle. Linebackers, and it should say safeties. I contradicted myself. I got to fix this right here because they got a weak D line. So linebackers and safeties. See, I come home. I'm in a rush to get these shows ready for you. And I make such an embarrassing typo. I say that the Cardinal strength is their D line. It most certainly isn't their D line. Their strength is up the middle with the linebackers and the safeties. Why don't we take a look right now at the Cardinals depth chart? Pop this up open on the screen for everybody, because this is going to give you a good little overview of where this Arizona team is strong, where it's weak, and you could kind of just follow along as I'm talking about it. So I talked about the 3-4 defensive line. So these 3 positions right here. Jonathan Ledbetter, not very good. Dante Stills has really struggled against the run. They recently changed this depth chart online. They had Stills as one of the defensive ends, and they had Lecky Fotu at nose tackle, but they moved Kevin Strong into that nose tackle spot, Fotu to one of the defensive end spots. Fotu's a really, really big body. I think he's going to have trouble keeping up with some of the more athletic stuff that the 49ers do. Either way, they're not really a good player in this front 3 for Arizona. Now, they've gotten good play on the outside from Dennis Gardeck and from Victor Dimukeji. both of these guys have close to 3 sacks on the season, 2.5 to 3 sacks between both of them. So that's where the pressure is going to come from, in the 3-4 from the outside linebackers. The inside linebackers, I think, are some of the better players in this football team. Kaiser White played for Philadelphia. He comes over because Jonathan Gannon is now Arizona's head coach. Jonathan Gannon was the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles team that beat the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. So Gannon is the one who runs this 3-4. And you'll see this very often where a new coach is going to try to bring over a player who helped him tremendously on the field as far as a communication pattern from his old stop to his new job. And Kaiser White is one of those players. Kaiser White comes from the Eagles to the Arizona Cardinals. He's helping this Cardinals defense implement Gannon's system, and he actually had the interception of Dak Prescott to seal the game against the Cowboys. So I talk about the safeties also being strong for this team. I think that Andrew Chicheri and Kayvon Wallace have both played well. These are two safeties that formerly came from Philadelphia. So the Eagles' fingerprints are all over this defense. It's just the first year, though, and it's obviously not A-list players. The only A-lister that the Eagles let go this past year, well, I guess C.J. Gardner-Johnson counts too. He's now with Detroit, but Javon Hargrave is with the 49ers. So there was a little bit of an exodus from that Philadelphia defense. They did lose the defensive coordinator. He's now Arizona's coach. You have a few players here from the Eagles, and the 49ers are going to try to attack a defense that I think is strong in the areas where they have those Philadelphia expats that have moved over from the Eagles to the Arizona Cardinals. I do think that there are weaknesses, though, at cornerback with Marco Wilson and Catrell Clark for the Arizona Cardinals. In general, I just think that the 49ers have more firepower than Arizona will be able to handle, assuming the 49ers continue handling their job up front. And over the past 2 weeks, I think they've done a good job up front. I think against Pittsburgh, it was a little bit worse in pass protection, but they also had TJ Watt on the other side. It's been better against the Rams. Colton McKivitz had a clean sheet against the New York Giants, and obviously Brock Purdy faced all of those blitzes against the Giants. I don't think that Arizona is going to blitz nearly as much. They have the second lowest blitz rate in the league, 12.5%. So this is going to be more of a game where Brock Purdy has to look down into coverage. And, it's interesting because against the scheme that the Eagles brought last year in the NFC Championship game, Brock Purdy looked damn good until he got hurt. It was only a few plays in. It was like the 5th or 6th play of the game, right? But it looked like he was in command, at least against what the Eagles were running from a base defensive formation, and he was hitting the right read. Even on the play he got hurt, it was the right decision to go up to Brandon Ayuk over the top. But Purdy just didn't manipulate the pocket quite well enough. And obviously, Hassan Reddick got around the edge, beat Tyler Kroft, and the rest was history. The key is, though, that this Arizona team does not have the same firepower running Jonathan Gannon's system as the Eagles team last year. So they got a couple edge rushers who have been productive in Dumukagi and Dennis Gardeck, but I mean, they're not Hassan Reddick. They're not Josh Sweat, right? It's just a different defense here that this Arizona Cardinals team is operating just because of different personnel. So I think in general, the 49ers, what matters is how they play, how they execute. That's what's going to determine this game. You're not worried about singular players in Arizona's scheme. In fact, I guarantee you, most of you are going to turn on the TV on Sunday and be like, who the hell is that? When you see Cardinals defensive players. It is a new look defense. Budda Baker's not available. Quantrez Knight is up. If somebody gets hurt, maybe you see former 49er Quantrez Knight, but I mean, he's a player that probably would fit into any scheme as a reserve, right? Because he's so versatile on the back end. But in general, the 49ers need to focus on themselves. They need to keep in mind that Arizona does have those strengths in the middle of the field. And the 49ers want to improve their red zone third down performance. It's one thing that George Kittle talked about today. He pointed out the 49ers went 1 of 7 on their third downs within the red zone. So this team was 9 of 16 on third downs total. So I don't know if Kittle's stat is correct, but maybe there were some penalties to make the math work out. But he was saying they went 1 of 6 or 1 of 7 on third downs within the red zone proper. And he pointed at that as a specific spot of needed improvement for the 49ers. Because on the flip side, Arizona held Dallas to 1 of 5 conversion rate in the end zone, in the red zone. So the Dallas Cowboys moved the ball fairly well, fairly efficiently up and down the field, but they stalled in the red zone, including on the decisive possession later in the game when Kaiser White had that interception of Dak Prescott. So the Cardinals are a high-effort team. They don't have a lot of star power. There are weaknesses along that defensive line and at cornerback. There are relative strengths in the middle of the defense. But the key is that they seem to be playing hard for Jonathan Gannon. They're flying around, and whenever that happens, you have to be on your P's and Q's offensively to keep that defense off balance. And if you are able to keep them off balance, if you are able to run, the Cardinals have given up some rushing yards this year, and then if you're able to take care of the football, Brock Purdy doesn't have an interception yet, that's when you can take it to a defense that's just not as talented as your offense. And that's where I see the 49ers being right now. Brock Purdy's pulling a lot of the right strings. He's playing that point guard position. He knows if there's a blitz coming, if it's warm, if it's hot, how much he needs to step out of the way, how quickly he needs to get rid of the football. He's shown plenty of arm strength. He's been accurate downfield on those intermediate passes, right? 10 to 20 yards. 93% accuracy, which is the highest in NFL history. Has he missed a little bit further downfield a few times? Yes, but every quarterback does. And it's a work in progress. Purdy's trying to get better at that. We'll see exactly how Jonathan Gannon plays this football game, schematically against the 49ers. We didn't get to see enough of Purdy against the Eagles and Jonathan Gannon last year before Purdy got hurt to really have tape to say, okay, this is where an adjustment or counter adjustment might come. We don't have that, right? We just have to play this by feel. And that's why I think the other side of the ball is so important to talk about in conjunction with the 49ers defense, with the 49ers offense, because the 49ers defense is going to be trying to play complementary football. So what Dallas could not do against the Cardinals last week. Dallas gave up way too much on the ground, 222 yards, 7.2 per carry, brutal performance. Joshua Dobbs then, as a result, was able to just have a comfortable pocket because the Dallas defensive line was not able to rush the passer normally the way that it normally does. And Dobbs won 17 of 21. Arizona controlled the football against the Cowboys. I mean, offense and defense are going to have to fuel each other in any NFL game, but it's particularly true against teams that like to pound the football like Arizona. Their game plan is reminiscent of what the 49ers like to do to other teams. They like to control clock with efficient passing that's based on a rugged run game, and then they could play opportunistic defense. The difference is that the 49ers have much better personnel than Arizona. But if the 49ers don't show up to play, if they're not ready to tackle, if they're not ready to man up against the Arizona rushing attack, well, then it could turn into a long afternoon. Kind of like 2021. That's the game that spurred Eric Armstead's move to the inside. 2021 against the Arizona Cardinals, right? I mean, they just got eaten alive in the run game. James Conner, Arizona running back, 98 yards against the 49ers back in 2021. Eno Benjamin ran over Drake Kirkpatrick. The 49ers had all kinds of issues in the run game. Colt McCoy played. It was a similar kind of situation where it was McCoy instead of Kyler Murray, who again is hurt. Now it's going to be Josh Dobbs. And the Cardinals upset the 49ers. Is it possible for that to happen again? Of course it's possible. I don't think it's nearly as likely because the 49ers are so much more loaded now along the defensive line. Armstead moved inside after that game against Arizona in 2021. Ever since then, the 49ers have been the best rushing defense in football. So it's important to draw some parallels, and I talk about it in an article coming up tomorrow, what the Cardinals did to the 49ers back then and what the 49ers now can do moving forward, since they do have that elite run defense. Hasn't really had a chance to flex its muscles this year, but I think that it will, because Arizona is going to run a lot in this game. And then by extension, 49ers offense should have a chance to put the Cardinals away by taking care of some of the keys that I talked about. Those of you just joining, I was at the Packers bar eating some cheese curds, watching some football a little bit earlier. A descendant of that Czech fried cheese in Wisconsin and in San Francisco. This was the Packers bar in San Francisco, local tap. I know a lot of people just joining. This is the Thursday night tradition. Listen to how happy the Packers fans were after Jordan Love scored. They wouldn't stay that happy, but that was the happiest. That was the happiest the Green Bay fans would be the whole night. They got a little bit closer, not quite close enough to win that football game. All right, let's bring it open for questions. 49ers Q&A, talking about the 49ers offense against the Cardinals defense. Brock Purdy against the mediocre defense. That's what's happening on Sunday. I'm ready for questions if you're ready to ask them. We got the Alcatraz swim on Saturday. Anybody want to film that with a drone? I think it'd be pretty cool. If you're skilled at that kind of camera work, maybe I could hire you on Saturday. Let me know in the comments section. What does the defense need to do to keep Dobbs in check? They got to be disciplined against the run. They have to be ready for when he's going to try to not slide. You have to be very alert. You got to be on your toes against Dobbs. And it's this discipline on the back end. It has to be team football. And I think that's what's going to help the 49ers stymie this Arizona rushing attack that's number 3 DVOA. Talk more about that tomorrow. We could talk about the offense now. I think Debo's trending toward not playing since he didn't practice today, but we won't be sure until it might even be a game time decision. We might not be sure until Sunday. Well, I mean, the other guys are going to get Debo's touches. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. They've got a ton of skill position weapons for a reason. Christian McCaffrey kind of just alternates that way anyway, depending on where defensive focus is. But if somebody is hurt, well, then the alternation is a little bit more natural. Jennings also, I would classify as questionable. He hasn't practiced, maybe doubtful. I know they don't have that designation. Well, yeah, no, they have doubtful. They don't have probable anymore, though. Yeah, Buda's not playing, but I look at Buda Baker kind of as a rover on the back end. And I think that Jalen Thompson is a little bit of a rover as well on the back end. You want me to break down the safety play? I mentioned that the safeties were with Philadelphia before, Kayvon Wallace and Andre Chicheri. So they're both schematically familiar with what Jonathan Gannon wants to run. So that's the key with safety play, right? You want somebody who melds well with the defensive coordinator. You want somebody that takes chances in the right spot, that stays disciplined, helps out the coverage, is solid as far as run support goes. And I think Arizona generally has that in their safeties. They're not all-stars, not Pro Bowlers, but they're both solid players. I also think they're good up the middle. The other Philadelphia transplant, Kaiser White, is the main linebacker for this football team. So Brock Purdy is going to have to be on his P's and Q's. The 49ers offense, as far as second-level blocking goes, and as far as execution of the pass game goes, Chris Sprout's good execution, it's going to have to be there. Because this Arizona team, I think Jonathan Gannon is a good defensive coach. And I think that he's ported some of the principles that work so well in Philadelphia here to this defense. Do they have the same talent in Arizona? No, but it was good enough to hold the Dallas Cowboys to 18 points last week, or even 16 points last week. Yeah, I think it was 28-16. So this Arizona defense can give you some trouble. And I just think it's stronger up the middle than it is on the perimeter. And however the 49ers try to exploit that, it's going to depend on what Arizona calls. But just know that this is not a foolproof Arizona defense. There are very defined spots where they're worse than they are better, right? And because of that, I think that Kyle Shanahan's going to have something to work with when it comes to play calling and keeping the defense off balance. I think that the 14-point line is actually about right. You'll hear my prediction a little bit later this weekend, but at the end of the day, the 49ers are true Super Bowl contenders, arguably the best team in the NFL with a stocked roster. I predicted they would win by 18 points against the New York Giants, and they ended up winning by 18 points against the New York Giants. So I thought that was fair. The Giants obviously lost to the Arizona Cardinals. So you say the Cardinals maybe are a little bit better than the Giants. I'm just tossing it out there. at least this version of the Cardinals and that version of the Giants. That's the discrepancy there, 3 points between those two teams. Well, if that's the case, then subtract. This is very napkin math, and I obviously doesn't work this simply, but subtract 3 from 18. That's about 15. It's about 2 touchdowns. That's what the line is, right? So the 49ers are about 3 possessions better than the Giants. We saw that last week. And I think the assumption is they're about 2 possessions better than the Cardinals. So that's where the line is set. On any given Sunday, an NFL team can step in and beat you, as the Cowboys learned. And I think from the Cardinals, and I think that the Cardinals are better than people anticipated, right? They're number 10 DVOA after 3 weeks. And that number might drop a little bit, but the 49ers have to treat them as a dangerous opponent because they clearly are. So I think 14 is fair because it's respectful of the 49ers. Might not be very respectful of the Cardinals, but the 49ers do deserve some respect after putting up 30 in each of their 3 games and also having the reigning number 1 defense in the league. Yeah, I mean, George Kittle talked about the 49ers red zone offense needing to be better, touchdowns instead of field goals. The blitzes are tougher to deal with in close quarters. There's not much open space to take advantage of on the back end. And it was a Thursday night. So I do think that it is likely the 49ers offense will trend toward improvement. It would be tough if the 49ers didn't have Ayuk or Samuel, but Ayuk is definitely trending toward playing. What other games will I have my eyes on? That's a good question. Let's take a look at the schedule. I could pop this one open for you. There's the Packers bar. We're done with that, though. All right. So we move to week 4, right? Yeah. Because we have Lions Packers. All right. So international game, Jacksonville, Atlanta. The 49ers play Jacksonville in November. The Jaguars haven't looked great early in this season. So, and I know what Atlanta is all about. That's Arthur Smith pounding the football. Probably similar to what Arizona is going to bring to the 49ers, although Arizona probably has a more creative run game. They'll go to Rondale Moore. They'll go to Josh Dobbs on top of what they're going to bring with James Conner. But let's keep an eye on if Jacksonville is going to be able to turn this around or not, because to me, that had been an intriguing game on the 49ers schedule. The marquee matchup of the weekend is one of the early games. That's number 1 against number 2 DVOA, Dolphins against the Bills. That's going to be awesome. I'm not, the biggest Dolphins believer just yet. I love their offense, but I've seen a lot of great offenses in September. Doesn't mean that offense is going to be great down the stretch. And that's why it's so important for a team to have a balanced attack with the defense as well. So do the Dolphins have the defense to stay with the Bills, or do the Bills still have a little bit more in the tank? We'll see. I know Miami got Buffalo last year in Miami, but then Buffalo got them back in Buffalo. This game is in Buffalo. So the Miami Dolphins, if they win this game, they have made tangible progress over last season, but we shall see. Vikings and Panthers, that doesn't move the needle at all for me. Watching Kirk Cousins does not move the needle ever for me. He's on pace for a 6,000-yard season while going 0-17 right now, by the way. That's a Kirk Cousins special for you. Broncos and Bears. Boy, that's a puke-worthy matchup given what we saw last week with the Broncos giving up 70. And Justin Fields is just not good. So this is a chance for Denver to go to 1-3. It's just going to get worse for the Bears. I just don't see anything redeemably optimistic about Justin Fields' performance so far this year. He just can't pass. He can run, but he's really struggled with his arm. So, the Bears are in a bad spot after that wildly crazy, chaotic week around their facility, Hallis Hall, over in Chicago. Ravens and Browns. So I'm definitely watching that because I'll tell you what, mark my words, that Cleveland game, people don't realize how big and how exciting and what kind of matchup that's going to be, because everybody's talking obviously about the Cardinals right now. Then they're saying, okay, well, the Cowboys are next week. People aren't, I don't think they're not thinking about, I don't think people are thinking about that Cleveland game that the 49ers will travel to after they play the Cowboys. And the Browns have what's been so far, by far, the best defense in the league. So it's the best defense in the league against Lamar Jackson, who's coming off of a frustrating loss against the Colts. On top of that, Deshaun Watson just put together his best performance with Cleveland. So that's, and Browns Ravens. It's always a good matchup, right? That's all. It's one of those games between cities who have lost football teams in the past. Baltimore lost the Ravens to Baltimore lost the Colts to Indianapolis, and then the Ravens came in to replace them, and then Cleveland, they lost the Browns. The Browns left, and they were replaced by a new version of the Browns. And didn't the Browns become? Am I thinking of that wrong? I think the Browns became the Ravens, right? I think Cleveland went to Baltimore. Yeah. So this is the game of the Browns squared in a way. Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to remember where the Ravens, well, where the Browns went. I believe the Browns went to Baltimore when they left Cleveland. Yeah, so the Browns went. Yes, I am right. So yeah, this anytime the Ravens and the Browns play, I always joke it's the Browns versus the Browns, because the Browns went to Baltimore, became the Ravens, and then after a few years of not having football, a new expansion version of the Browns was formed in Cleveland. So the Ravens are the original Browns, and they're playing the new Browns in Cleveland. And then the 49ers go to Cleveland in week 6. Steelers, Texans. I'm excited about that too, because D'Amico Ryans picked up his first win last week, 37-17 over Jacksonville. And it's always fun to watch a team that the 49ers have already played to see how they fare against the rest of the league. So the Steelers, actually, they went and beat the Browns in week 2, and then they went and beat the Raiders on the road in week 3. It's making the 49ers week 1 win over the Steelers in Pittsburgh look all the more impressive, right? I mean, they just went in there and kicked Pittsburgh's ass, and Pittsburgh has been good since then. I'm excited to see the Texans take on the Steelers now after the Texans worked the Jaguars last week. That's going to be fun. Rams, Colts, Indianapolis coming off the win on the road in Baltimore. That's not easy to do. Sansom Ebukam playing for the Colts. He's going to get to face his other former team, the Rams. He's been with the Rams, the 49ers, and the Colts. Well, it's going to be Indianapolis against the Rams. Should be fun. Rams desperate. They need a bounce back, right? The Rams did not look good offensively down the stretch there. They looked very limited against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night. Saints and Tampa Bay. Not much to write home about that game. Probably not one I'll be paying too much attention to. Always paying attention to the Eagles. Washington, I mean, yes, they're 2-1, but they looked horrid against Buffalo last week. 37-3 losers. And Philadelphia has this one at home, so I'd be shocked if the Eagles aren't able to take care of business. Tennessee looked really bad offensively last week, but who hasn't looked good offensively? The Bengals haven't looked good either. So something's got to give here, right? We'll see who finally can right the ship, unless it's going to turn into another one of those 9-6 like games. Raiders, Jimmy Garoppolo against the Chargers, Justin Herbert. Classic AFC West matchup. That one's going to be at SoFi Stadium. We know Jimmy likes playing in SoFi. Some good moments for him there. So we'll get to see Garoppolo try to continue to work his way into that Josh McDaniels Las Vegas offense. Patriots, Cowboys. That's interesting to me. New England coming off its first win of the season. They're not going to start 0-3 as some people had feared. Dallas trying to bounce back from the loss against the Cardinals. And Dallas obviously can't be looking too far ahead to the 49ers, because if you do, then Bill Belichick is going to make you pay. 49ers, Arizona, that's a big one. Chiefs, Jets, I don't know how that stays close, given how poorly Zach Wilson is playing. I mean, it's rough for Robert Saleh and company there. It really is. They had a good-looking defense, but with that kind of quarterback play, oof, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. Seattle and the New York Giants. Speaking of a team the 49ers have already played, will Seattle handle the Giants as easily as the 49ers did? That's a question to answer on Monday night. So only one Monday night game this week, thankfully. Whenever they have two, it's a little hard to track. The Sunday night game is Chiefs-Jets. The Monday night game is Seahawks-Giants. So that's the rundown of this weekend. I know somebody asked, so wanted to give you the rundown. Hello there says that 57 is playing this Sunday. Yeah, Dre Greenlaw was back at practice today. Limited capacity, but I do think that he will be playing for the 49ers. Do I think it will be packed? Yeah. I mean, Levi's, when the 49ers are good, seems to consistently be packed. So I do think it's going to be a sellout. I do think it will be a full house, good weather in the Bay Area on October 1st. Might be a little bit warm on the sunny side of the field. Mike thinks that Dallas, New England will be interesting. If you guys like that little weekly roundup, maybe I could do that every week. Maybe do it as his own video. Although I got to manage my time. There's a lot going on, right? Got to write. I've got to do some videos for you. Have to tweet. So I appreciate the following and the support everywhere, especially when you uh, hop onto the Twitter. You know, Lombardi himself over there. You can do it on Instagram. You can do it on Twitter. I think there's a TikTok now too. There's obviously YouTube. Just got to be on all the social media, and of course, you got to be on the Athletic. I mean, that first Europe game, Falcons Jags, is happening, and that's why I wrote the Prague article this week, right ahead of. I wrote that earlier, but we released it this week ahead of the 49 ahead of the NFL Europe circuit. It will be a dream for me if I get to cover a 49ers game, at least in Germany, but somewhere in Europe, or at least in London or Germany. I know that's where they have the international games. Another country would be cool in Europe. I did the Mexico City game last year. I would certainly love to cover a Europe game for the 49ers because look, I wrote about a European football team, the 49ers out in Prague, because I say the 49ers out in Prague because the coach of this team out in Prague, the Prague Black Panthers, is a 49ers fan over there on the left. That's Spencer Ford, circling him with my cursor there. They like Joe Montana out there. They learned the game back when Joe Montana was the NFL's biggest star, right when the Iron Curtain fell. So check that out. The article, I'll put the link for you into the description right now, or maybe I'll put it in the comment section so you can click on it. Only a couple days left in our $1 a month sale on the Athletics. So would love it if you did check it out. There it is. Link is, just go to the chat. You can click on it. Any sightings of the IR guys? Actually, yes, saw Danny Gray today. I've seen Darrell Luter Jr., who's on PUP a lot in the locker room. I think he's been healthy for a while. I saw Danny Gray working out on the side field today. He'll be eligible, and so will Luter for the first time next week to come off of injured reserve and PUP, respectively. Robert Beal, I've also seen in the locker room. I'm not sure how close he is, though, with the hamstring injury. He could be a really nice speed rusher for the 49ers. In some really limited action, despite the nagging hamstring during training camp, I thought Robert Beal flashed. He's got the get off that they like for that 4-3 edge rusher position. And when you have the interior line dominating the way that it is right now for the 49ers, Hargrave, Kinlaw, Armstead, Givens is playing well. When you have that happening on the inside, it is a nice platform for young edge rushers to build some confidence, because so much of the defense's attention is focused on the inside. So that's why you've seen Drake Jackson really have a good start to the season, right? Drake, 3 sacks, looked like TJ Watt in week 1. He's working with single teams. Robert Beal might have a really nice platform for the 49ers. I'll try to talk to Robert at some point in the locker room. If you guys are interested, let me know. If you have any players that you want me to talk to specifically, and I could, maybe relay a video of it up here, or just talk about what they said, let me know, and let me know what you want to know, because you know me, I'm bringing out all kinds of obscure information all the time. It's just kind of what I do when I live and breathe this stuff. But sometimes I can miss the forest because I'm zoomed in on a tree. So if you have another tree that you want me to look at, then let me know, and we'll get it up here on the channel, up on the Athletic, everywhere where you consume your 49ers content. I mean, Elijah Mitchell had a nice little role against the Giants, so I anticipate his role staying nice and big against, or not big, but nice and solid, with about 10 to 11 touches against the Cardinals. I think that's in the cards, pun intended, on Sunday. Yeah, I brought this one up before. Go for Broke always has good facts. I won't give him credit for this one. It's a really good one. I brought it up on the show. But the 49ers got the 2022 number 262 7th round selection, which is a comp selection, because CJ Beathard left. And Beathard left to Jacksonville, which means that Trent Baalke signed him. So Trent Baalke is actually the guy that enabled the 49ers to draft Brock Purdy. Clap for Trent Baalke. Full circle indeed. Crazy stuff. Chris wants to see Jordan Mason run the ball. I think a lot of 49ers fans do. Mason is very popular in that regard. Anthony Garcia says another division win will be great to have early in the season. Need that number one seed. Where are the 49ers at now as far as division wins, consecutive division wins? They went 8-0 or 6-0 last year against the NFC West. They didn't have a chance to beat themselves. Went 6-0 in 2022. They didn't go undefeated in 21. I'm trying to think. They'd lost to Seattle late in the season at Seattle. That might have been early December, but they beat the Rams, right? Yeah, so they beat the Rams. So in the regular season, the 49ers probably have a 7-win streak in the division, but then they lost to the Rams in the NFC title game. So we'll call it a 6-game winning streak against their division. This is their first divisional game or second one. No. They beat the Rams in week 2. So 7 since the NFC Championship game, chance to go to 8 in a row with this game against the Cardinals. So continue owning your division if you're the 49ers, and good things will happen. You give yourself a much better shot at the 1 seed. The start that they've had to this season already has given them a nice inside track at the 1 seed. Keep on winning, and that will come to fruition. Obviously, massive, massive games looming ahead. Philadelphia in early December, but you can't think too far ahead. You got to realize that some of this stuff just has to develop naturally over the course of the season. I think the number 1 seed is tremendously important. You saw what happened to the 49ers last year when they had to travel to Philadelphia. Didn't end up well for them, right? So I think 1 is very important. The 1 seeds in the NFC have made it something like 72% of the time to the Super Bowl in over the past decade or two. Teams that have to play in that first round, especially the wild card teams, it's more like 10%. Now, if you're taking the home path through the wild card round and the divisional playoffs, the probability is a little bit higher, but the truth remains the same. Nobody wants to go on the road for the NFC Championship game. What's my favorite South Bay pregame food choice? Oh, that's pregame. Pregame is tough because I eat at the stadium. We have great food in the Levi Stadium press box, probably the best in the NFL. I'll have to give the 49ers credit for that. So I'm trying to think what would be open heading down to a 1 p.m. game. I'm guessing you're looking for brunch. Here's the one thing: if it's a primetime game on a weekday or even a weekend night, Sunday night, Fambrini's Cafe in Palo Alto, and I believe that Fambrini's, let me look up the hours, has brunch that opens early enough for you to be able to hit them up and then go to the game. I'm looking up the hours right now. Patience. Well, it's going to be close, 10:30 a.m. So if you hit Fambrini's right when they open on Sunday, you can get amazing brunch food, sandwiches, everything too, but also brunch dishes. 10:30 a.m. Be out of there by their quick service and stuff. So you could probably be out of Fambrini's by 11:15, and then you're gonna have to fight some traffic. So it just depends on if you want to tailgate or not. Now, if you want to get something that opens a little bit earlier, Fambrini's is almost my breakfast sandwich spot, and I have good lunch spots, but generally I do breakfast in the city. So I'm going to get back to you on that. People have a good South Bay pregame food choice, drop it into the chat section, and maybe I go review it at some point because you know me, I hit up all these food spots. And if you recommend a good one, I'll do some research before I go. Sweet Maple, that's a San Francisco restaurant, but somebody says there's one in Palo Alto. You get the Millionaire's Bacon. So if you have any good recommendations, I will hit them up. I promise. I mean, just today I went to one, right? Today I went to Mercury Cafe over in Hayes Valley. That's included in the video, one of the update videos from this morning. So you know me, you can trust me for good Bay Area food recommendations. I don't think, this come from behind stuff is crazy because if you come from behind, you had to play poorly enough to fall behind in the first place. So, yeah, I mean, he had a nice come from behind victory against the Raiders last year. I think the critics are going to be the critics, and they're just mad that they were wrong about Trey Lance and they've been wrong about so much other stuff. It's the same damn group of people each time. It's so pathetic watching these people spin their wheels about Brock Purdy because they were wrong about Jimmy Garoppolo's efficiency with the 49ers. They're wrong about Brock Purdy. They're wrong about Kyle Shanahan. They're wrong about John Lynch. They're wrong about so many other like little micro transactions with the 49ers. They just don't understand how the team works. So now like all of the anger about being wrong so many times from these people is directed at Brock Purdy. So they don't see him with an objective lens. They're just against whatever Brock Purdy stands for. And all he stands for is an efficient quarterback who's a great underdog story coming from pick number 262, who, for whatever reason, wasn't drafted a little bit higher, even though he's got the physical skill set to do it. So I don't think anything is going to satisfy one group of people because even if he has a come from behind win this week and they have to tweet a couple nice things about him, he could throw an interception against the Cowboys and all of a sudden they'll turn on him again because these people do not have the ability to zoom out and see the big picture. So that's just how the critics are. I guess maybe that's the nature of the NFL. Hell yeah, try to combine football and food. They are very related entities, football and food. You know what, guys? I have to find my computer charger because this thing is about to die. I didn't realize I hadn't plugged in. So why don't I put this open on the screen? There. I'm going to hide the camera really quickly so I can find a charger. Here it is. Got to do this before this computer dies right in the middle of a stream. We are plugged in. We're waiting for that lightning bolt to show up. As soon as it shows up, I'll breathe a sigh of relief that we have escaped the dying computer. It hasn't shown up yet. We just have like the steady charge icon. Once that lightning bolt gets in there, and maybe it's because we're streaming at 1080p right now, maybe it won't come on. But as long as this thing stays at the 7% battery that it's at, I could live with that. I'm back. I'll keep an eye on it, but what can you do? If I cut out, it's because the power cut out on the power supply of this computer. This is a good thing to be worried about. Pressure up the middle, because this is where the 49ers have been at their weakest along the offensive line. Has been up the middle. Again, McKivitz and Trent Williams both recorded clean sheets against the Giants, despite the fact the Giants blitzed at a historically high rate. So it's been Brendel, Burford, and to an extent, Aaron Banks only last game struggling. It's been mainly that interior, though, this last game was Brendel and Burford who were giving up a little bit too much pressure. And I think Burford's been getting better. And Burford, by the way, we've got the lightning bolt. We've got the Charger up there, not the San Diego / Los Angeles Charger. We got the Charger that we want up on the screen. Anyway, it, the I think Burford's been getting better. He's been getting to the second level on blocks the whole season. That hasn't been an issue. It's been more positioning, anchoring, and pass protection. He's got the body to do it. He's reworked his body since his rookie season. I think he just needs time, and the 49ers are in really good position to give him that time because the whole team is firing on all cylinders around him. So that is definitely something that the 49ers need to improve. Cool. You saw Patrick Willis at Santana Row, the San Jose hotspot. You buy egg rolls and tacos from Jack in the Box. Oh boy. Not sure I would do the same. I'm an In-N-Out burger guy. And it's going to be tradition after every game. If if I'm able to make it to In-N-Out before they close, it's tough sometimes after primetime games. We'll see how I do after the Cowboys game because I'm going to have a lot of work after that one. But it's In-N-Out burger for me. And then it's an early wake up the next morning to start breaking down the tape and talking to you. So In-N-Out's what fuels me through those marathons on game days heading into the day after. What's the real reason Price not active? Well, A, McCaffrey is obviously better. He's running back one. B, Elijah Mitchell's obviously better, so he's running back two. So then the decision as to who's inactive and active comes between Jordan Mason and Ty Davis Price. And I don't think it's that far fetched to say that the 49ers prefer Jordan Mason over Ty Davis Price. Some of the pass protection problems that we saw with TDP in the preseason might have been the issue. He has looked a lot physically better than he did last year. He's transformed his body, but it's great. You're in a good spot as a team if somebody can make big physical strides, but still be inactive because somebody else has also been making big improvements. The 49ers just have that kind of depth, and it'll come to a point where they need TDP this year. It will. I mean, inevitably, there will be inavailability due to some kind of injury. You can knock on wood and say, I hope that doesn't happen because nobody likes injuries, but just kind of how the battle of attrition works on a football field. There are rarely top linemen available during the trade deadline this year. And even if there are going to be, I can't tell you right now because the trade deadline's still about a month away. Still have to give this some time. It won't really materialize until close to the deadline. So let's just sit back, enjoy what the 49ers have right now, and decide what might be possible at a later date. I think I make burgers better than In-N-Out too. I'm a pretty good griller, but you know, it's about consistency, price, convenience. Like, even though I grill really well, when I finish covering a 49ers game and it's 1 or 2 a.m. after some of these primetime games, maybe 12:30, say 12:30, maybe 1 a.m. The last thing I can do is go home and grill. I have to drive 40 minutes to San Francisco. So I need to find an In-N-Out burger off the freeway, right? So you pay for that. You pay for that convenience, and you say, "Hey, I'll take the protein style," which is what I do with the fries and the vanilla shake, and that will hold me over for now, along with the aura of In-N-Out burger quality you can taste, right? Over grilling. Now there are other situations. I'm up in the mountains, Shaver Lake, Tahoe, as I was the other week, where you turn on the grill. It's perfect. Life slows down, but apples and oranges, right? I don't like when people compare In-N-Out to like Shake Shack for a similar kind of argument, apples and oranges, because Shake Shack is going to be a $20 to $30 purchase. It's like premium fast food, right? In-N-Out's really damn good, but it's at a lower price point. So comparing those apples and oranges really doesn't help. Well, yeah, you're retired, so you have the luxury. I mean, I'm not like arguing with you. I'm just explaining we're turning this into a very important burger discussion. So I'm not offended that you make good burgers, and if you're retired, then you have all the time in the world to do it. But sometimes you probably still enjoy treating yourself to some In-N-Out. Doesn't have to be as good as the burger you make at home to enjoy it. It's not a either or kind of thing. They are developing the land near Levi's. I don't know if the 49ers themselves are developing it, but there's a development happening across the street called the Related Santa Clara Development. You can Google it. They have broken ground. It's just going to take a while. And it has taken a while up to this point. People talking about food. Yeah, I do swim at Shaver Lake. Very nice lake to swim in. I love it up there. Huntington Lake, Shaver Lake. Huntington's cold though. Shaver is a little bit warmer. Although this time of the year, everything's going to be cooling off up up in the Sierra Nevada. We are in late September. All right, so today we went through a lot. We talked about the fact that Arizona's got a weak defensive line. The 49ers need to capitalize on that. They gave up, 185 yards rushing to the Dallas Cowboys last week. The Cowboys lost, but they were able to run the ball against Arizona. The Cardinals, though, they're strong up the middle. They've got experience under their coordinator, their coach, Jonathan Gannon, up the middle with some players that moved over from the Philadelphia Eagles. So Purdy's going to have to be on his P's and Q's in this game. And you always have to be. It's the NFL. Cardinals have been good so far. Not defensively. They've been like number 17 or number 18. They've been good as a team. And they've controlled the flow offensively with their run game, which is number 3. That's been their, they say the best defense can be a good offense. So the Cardinals have actually done that, especially against the Cowboys. So the 49ers need to win on both sides of the football to help give Brock Purdy the pathway, the clear path to another 30-point game. I think the 49ers will score 30, though. More on that later in my prediction this week. 49ers want to improve their red zone performance. Remember that Dallas only went 1 of 5 in the red zone against Arizona, so that might be a little bit of a clash point in this game. All right, like the video, sub to the channel. We'll talk to you soon. It's been a fun Thursday night. Bye, everybody. Friday coming up, TGIF. We'll be talking much more tomorrow.